Chapter 61 Battle against Qi Yun. You are listening at Mtlnovel Audio. Click. A sound like breaking glass came from Qin Buyi's body. Crack. Crack. Click. There were crisp sounds inside his body, but Qin Buyi didn't wait for him to realize what was happening. A trace of pain spread from all the bones in his body, and turned into severe pain in the next second. The bones all over the body make creak and creak sounds. Sweat instantly poured out of Qin Buyi's body, soaking through his clothes. The bones in the body seemed to be held by an invisible hand, and there was a sense of oppression from the outside. It was as if Qin Buyi was going to crush all the bones in his body. The oppressive feeling came and went quickly, and after a few seconds, the body returned to calm. Qin Buyi just breathed a sigh of relief. A series of explosions were heard within the body. Boom! 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 The internal organs seemed to have been hit hard with a sledgehammer, making a muffled sound like a big drum. Sledgehammers pounded the guts, bones were pounded with smaller hammers. After a few seconds. Crack! Crack! Click! Qin Buyi's entire body was smashed into pieces. The severe pain of shattered bones constantly stimulated Qin Buyi's nerves. Qin Buyi gritted his teeth without saying a word, his face flushed, and he persisted. The heavy hammer on the internal organs disappeared. Instead there was a powerful twisting force. This powerful twisting force acts on the internal organs. Qin Buyi felt as if his internal organs were being put into a washing machine and being tossed around like crazy. The crushing of bones continues, from fragments to now powder. After turning into powder, the hammer no longer strikes. From the crushed bones, golden ant-like creatures grew out one after another, almost in the blink of an eye. All the bones in the body were filled with these golden creatures. The golden creature gnawed on the white bone powder in front of it. The severe pain in Qin Buyi's body reached its peak at this moment. Drops of sweat the size of soybeans dripped continuously from Qin Buyi's forehead as if it was free of money. After a dozen breaths, the white bone powder was eaten clean. On Qin Buyi's original skeleton, the golden creatures were connected head to tail. If someone looks through Qin Buyi's body now, they will find that golden creatures are interspersed in Qin Buyi's body like golden bones. The internal organs no longer feel strong twisting, and a cool feeling comes from the heart. The cool feeling traveled along the blood vessels and spread all over Qin Buyi's body. After the cooling sensation reaches the bones in the body, it travels along the bones. The golden creatures connected end to end where the cool feeling traveled suddenly turned into pieces of golden bones. After a few breaths, the cool feeling disappeared from the body. Also disappearing was the severe pain in Qin Buyi's body. Taking a long breath, Qin Buyi scanned his body with his spiritual mind. The originally white bones of the body have now turned golden. Compared with before, the golden bones are tougher and harder. During the process of Qin Buyi's breakthrough, Hongwanra frowned slightly in the Shueyu's secret realm. Qi Yun asked from the side, "What's wrong?" Hongwanra said in confusion. Then Qin Buyi stopped at the entrance of the secret realm. I wonder what he was doing. When Qi Yun heard Hongwanra's words, Monk Zhang was also confused and said, "He didn't attack the entrance to the secret realm." Hongwanra shook her head and said with some anxiety, "No, could it be that he knew you were here, Mr. Qi, so he didn't dare to come in?" If Qin Buyi barged in directly, Hongwanra would not be so uneasy, but she actually stopped outside. This puzzling operation directly aggravated Hongwanra's inner anxiety. Qi Yun denied, "It's impossible. From what I know about him, he is not a person who shrinks or is afraid." Hongwanra looked at Qi Yun with some fear in her eyes. "What should we do?" "Let's go out and take a look," Qi Yun said. Hongwanra felt as if she had found her backbone after listening to Qi Yun's words. Follow Qi Yun to the exit of the secret realm and teleport briefly. The two figures appeared in the field of vision of Qin Buyi and his party. Xiao Qing looked at Qi Yun warily. Lan Linglong and Lang Yi came to Xiao Qing, looking equally wary. Lang Yi actually didn't want to be on the same team as Qin Buyi, but then he thought about it. This man was too scary. If you choose neutrality at this time, it is tantamount to betraying the enemy. History has proven that wallflowers never end well. Lang Yi thought about it and gritted his teeth and stood by Qin Buyi. At this moment, a powerful aura came out from the center of Xiaoqing's dragon body. Qin Buyi flew out from Xiaoqing's entanglement and looked at Qi Yun. "Old Qi, we meet again." Qi Yun looked at Qin Buyi with wide eyes. "You have actually broken through to the fusion realm." Hearing what Qi Yun said, Hong Wanru's feet softened and she almost didn't sit on the ground. Hong Wanru's eyes dimmed and she said secretly, how could he break through so quickly? Before the breakthrough, Qin Buyi had already destroyed the Huiyan secret realm and the Kunlun secret realm. Now that she has broken through and become one, Hong Wanru's heart is filled with darkness, and she looks at Qi Yun with pleading eyes. Now she puts all her hopes on Qi Yun. Qin Buyi looked at Hong Wanru with a hint of killing intent in her eyes, then turned to Qi Yun and said, Mr. Qi, we seem to meet quite frequently. Qi Yun obviously heard the dissatisfaction in Qin Buyi's tone, and said with an embarrassed smile on his face. I don't want to meet little friend Qin so often, but I'm getting older and can't stand the pleadings of my younger generation. Does little friend Qin have to kill Hong Wanru? Or can she escape death by giving up the secret realm to you? Qin Buyi said in a tone without any room for negotiation, people must die, and I also want the secret realm. After hearing Qin Buyi's decisive words, Qi Yun turned to look at Hong Wanru. I tried my best. Hong Wanru was dumbfounded. You just said a few words to Qin Buyi, and you tried your best. After Qin Buyi finished speaking, you didn't even argue. At this moment, Hong Wanru's heart was the same as that of the dead Huganyan, and she really understood the meaning of let's see in Qi Yun's mouth, really solid experience. After Qi Yun finished speaking to Hong Wanru, he turned around and left. Before leaving, he did not forget to say to Qin Buyi, little friend Qin, remember what you promised me to pass on the Blue Star cultivation system. Don't break your promise. Facing such a Buddhist Qi Yun, Qin Buyi was stunned and replied blankly, definitely. As someone who had personally experienced Qi Yun blocking the road twice, Lan Linglong looked dumbfounded. Even Xiaoqing's eyes widened when she saw Qi Yun leaving calmly. This is true for outsiders, not to mention the parties involved. Hong Wanru sat paralyzed on the ground, her eyes dull. After a while, she looked at Qi Yun who was about to disappear into the horizon. Then she came back to her senses and shouted loudly. Uncle Qi, you promised my mother. Qi Yunfei paused, sighed, turned around and flew over as quickly as possible. He came to Hong Wanru and helped her up, protecting Hong Wanru behind her. She looked at Qin Buyi with distracted eyes, seemingly lost in memories. After 2 breaths, Qi Yun came back to his senses and said helplessly, I made little friend Qin laugh. Qin Buyi took a step forward, drew out the killing blade and said, Old Qi, what do you mean? Qi Yun smiled bitterly and said nothing, but firmly protected Hong Wanru behind him. Seeing this, Qin Buyi already understood what Qi Yun meant and said. It seems like there is going to be a fight between you and me today. You are my first opponent to break through to the fusion realm. Let me see how powerful the Blue Star fusion realm is. Chapter 62. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qi Yun stretched out his hand to hold it in vain, and a long sword appeared. Slowly drawing out the long sword, Qi Yun said solemnly, Qi Yun, the 6th generation disciple of Shushan number 30, please enlighten me. Qi Yun's identity really surprised Qin Buyi. Lan Linglong opened her mouth in disbelief and said, didn't Shushan become extinct thousands of years ago? Qi Yun glanced at Lan Linglong with admiration. The little girl knows a lot. The Shushan inheritance is indeed extinct on the surface. During these thousands of years, Shushan has been developing silently in secret, and the number of disciples has been getting smaller and smaller. Because Shushan Kung Fu is difficult to get started with, and even more difficult to practice, when it is passed down to my generation, I will be the only one left. If I die, the Shushan inheritance will be completely cut off. Qi Yun held the sword and pointed at Qin Buyi from a distance. In my hand is the Taiye sword, a token of the master that has been passed down from generation to generation in Shushan. The grade is unknown. It is said that it was left by the founder of Shushan after he founded the sect. Shushan is a sect that focuses on swords. The ultimate goal of every disciple is to become the legendary swordsman who is invincible at the same level. Little friend Qin, be careful. Qin Buyi rubbed his fingers on the killing blade, ready to attack at any time and said, the killing blade, a sharp blade that exists for killing. The killing sword technique I use is a sword technique created with this sword specifically for killing. I have not seen any weapon at the same level that can beat it. I ask Mr. Qi to go all out. Qi Yun looked at the killing blade in Qin Buyi's hand without a guard, and whispered, "What a domineering knife. The blade is full of killing. I can smell blood from here." Little friend Qin stayed with this evil knife all day long, and he didn't lose his rationality. It's incredible. Shushan sword technique, sword controlling technique. Qi Yun let go of the Taie sword in his hand, and the Taie sword turned its blade to kill Qin Buyi at high speed. Killing and slaughtering. Qin Buyi held the high-speed vibrating killing blade and aimed it at Taie sword. Chong. The tips of the knives collided together, making the sound of gold and silver. The Taie sword did not retreat at all. The blade of the sword rubbed the blade of the killing blade, and stabbed Qin Buyi. The Taie sword rubbed against the killing blade, causing sparks to fly and a sharp sound that made people's skin crawl. Seeing that the tip of the sword was about to hit Qin Buyi shouted, "Shock!" Concentrating all the strength on the killing blade vibrates at an astonishing frequency of 100,000 times per second, trying to knock the Taie sword away. Taie sword remained unmoved. The blade of the sword stuck to the killing blade like a magnet, rubbing against the killing blade as it stabbed Qin Buyi steadily. Seeing Qin Buyi's behavior, Qi Yun said proudly, "Little friend Qin, how powerful is my Shushan sword art?" Qin Buyi resisted Taie sword's attack and said, "It's powerful enough to look down on the same level. I don't know why the Shushan sword art is so powerful because it's also a sword. It's far more powerful than the flying sword." Feijin attacked Qin Buyi more than once, but never once did Qin Buyi feel as troublesome as now. Qi Yun heard Qin Buyi mention the flying sword and said disdainfully, "How can my Shushan sword art be comparable to that inferior flying sword? Humph, those practitioners who use flying swords are not swordsmen at all. They are insulting the sword with their swords. For a true swordsman, the heart of the sword, the courage of the sword, and the will of the sword are all indispensable." What are those things? The sword in their hands is like a fire stick, without any rules. While Qi Yun was talking, Taie's sword kept thrusting forward, and at this time it was less than 5 centimeters away from Qin Buyi's throat. Qi Yun put his hands behind his back and said, "Little friend Qin, if you can't resist this sword, please spare Hong Wanru's life." Qin Buyi also put his left hand on the handle of the knife at this time, changing from holding the knife with one hand to holding the knife with both hands. "Can't resist? It doesn't exist. Mr. Qi, I will kill Hong Wanru. You can watch next." Qin Buyi shouted, "Open it for me." Qin Buyi used all his strength to draw out the killing blade stuck by Taie's sword, then he raised his killing blade and slashed at the sword body of Taie's sword. Killing and slaughtering. Chong. Killing and slaughtering. Chong. Killing and slaughtering. Chong. In just a few seconds, Qin Buyi attacked hundreds of times. Under Qin Buyi's savage and violent attack, a cry came out from Taie's sword. Zhang. Hearing Taijian's cry, Qi Yun recalled Taijian. A crack, invisible to the naked eye without looking carefully, appeared in the body of the Taie's sword. Qi Yun's eyes showed a look of physical pain, and his fingers gently caressed the Taie's sword, as if he were caressing a beloved woman. Looking at Qin Buyi, Qi Yun said, "Little friend Qin, you have a good sword and good swordsmanship." Qin Buyi retracted the killing blade. After the crazy slashing, the killing blade was still as sharp as ever, with no cracks on the blade. After one move, the weapons of both sides were judged. Just when Qin Buyi wanted to continue the attack, the sky suddenly darkened. The sky, which had been clear just a moment ago, was now covered with dark clouds. Thunderous sounds came from the dark clouds. Qin Buyi felt as if he was locked in the dark clouds, and looked up at the dark clouds above his head. Qi Yun also looked up at the dark clouds in the sky, his brows switching back and forth between spreading and frowning, and murmured, "Something's wrong. It's impossible, how could this happen?" Hong Wanru asked confusedly behind Qi Yun, "Uncle Qi, what is going on?" The dark clouds are getting bigger and bigger, and there is thunder in the sky. Qi Yun seemed to be sure of something from this posture and said in disbelief, "This is someone who has overcome the tribulation, but I am the only one among the blue stars who has broken through to the fusion realm." Could it be that I am a hermit in the mountains? Impossible. If there is a hermit with such cultivation, how could I not know about it? It's really strange. Who is this person? That when Hong Wanra heard Qi Yun's confused words, she couldn't help but want to go in a certain direction. Could it be that the combination has successfully broken through to the realm of transcending tribulation? Qi Yun nodded with difficulty and said, it is very likely that this is the case. Breaking through from the fusion realm to the tribulation transcending realm is the first time a cultivator has experienced thunder tribulation in their cultivation journey. After experiencing a near-death disaster, very few people can survive. This is also the origin of the name of the tribulation realm. It seems that the power of this thunder tribulation is not up to the standard of transcending the tribulation realm. Why is this? It's really confusing. Qi Yun withdrew his gaze, looked at Qin Buyi and said, little friend Qin, there is someone here who is going through the tribulation. Why don't you and I stop here and watch this person go through the tribulation first? This will also be of great help to us in the future to break through and overcome the tribulation. Crack, the first thunderbolt fell in the dark clouds, and the cyan thunder pillar as thick as a bucket struck straight towards Qin Buyi. Seeing this scene, Qi Yun felt as if he had seen a ghost in the daytime. His eyes widened and he looked at Qin Buyi. You. The green thunder pillar is getting closer and closer to Qin Buyi. Boom, the green thunder pillar hit Qin Buyi. Qin Buyi only felt numb without any discomfort. The intensity of the first cyan thunder pillar is equivalent to just entering the fusion realm. Qi Yun looked at Qin Buyi who had survived the first thunder tribulation, and stammered, what's going on? It's unheard of for a thunder tribulation to fall after Lianshu breaks through and merges into one body. I said just now why I felt that the power of thunder tribulation was still a little short of the tribulation realm, but now I understand. But even with this intensity, it's not something the fusion realm can bear. Qin Buyi heard Qi Yun's words and wondered in his heart, I still want to know what's going on. Qin Buyi fully demonstrated what it means to ask the system first when something is unclear. The inner voice called the system, come out. The system said lazily, my not-so-smart host, have you encountered something you don't understand again? The second thunder calamity is brewing in the sky. Qin Buyi didn't have time to care about the name of the system now, and said straight to the point, I broke through to the fusion, how could there be a thunder disaster? What is this situation? System, this question is very simple. I'll just charge you 1,000 mol points. Qin Buyi, my points have been cleared a long time ago, how can I give them to you? System, remember that you don't have points now, so you can owe them first, and I will automatically deduct them when you have them. Qin Buyi was so angry that his teeth itched when he saw that the system was demanding money. His heart skipped a beat and he said directly, under such circumstances, you still didn't forget to ask for money. If you don't answer this question for free, believe it or not, I will be struck to death by thunder from the sky. The system also had a headache seeing Qin Buyi being so single. After hearing that Qin Buyi wanted the sky thunder to strike him to death, the system finally compromised and said, my stupid host, this system will mercifully tell you that your whole body attributes are too strong and comprehensive, and thunder disaster is inevitable. Haven't you heard that if a cultivator is too powerful, he will make the world jealous? This is the case for you now. After Qin Buyi heard what the system said, he felt enlightened. The doubts in his heart were swept away, and he said to the system very directly. The questions have been answered, you can get out now. Ruthless host, how could you be like this? The system said aggrievedly. Qin Buyi ignored the system. Crack, the second well-prepared thunderstorm in the sky struck Qin Buyi. The second thunder tribulation was still as thick as a bucket, and its strength had already reached the standard for the early stage of integration. Qin Buyi looked at the sky and used his body to resist the thunderstorm. Qi Yun looked at Qin Buyi who resisted 2 thunder tribulations with his body, smacked his lips and said, the strength of this body is really terrifying. Behind Qi Yun, Hong Wanra looked at Qin Buyi who was going through the tribulation, and said to Qi Yun, Uncle Qi, take advantage of his illness to kill him. Now while he is concentrating on overcoming the tribulation and unable to be distracted, why not take the opportunity to kill him? That when Qi Yun heard what Hong Wanra said, he glanced at her with an evil look and said, "How could I do such a despicable thing? You really disappoint me." Hong Wanru said in a pitiful voice, "Then you don't care whether I live or die? After he survives the thunder tribulation, Uncle Qi, are you sure you can stop him?" Qi Yun said in a cold tone, "I will go all out. If I can't stop him, I can only say that you deserve your death. You promised my mother back then, and my mother treated you." Hong Wanru wanted to continue talking, but was directly interrupted by Qi Yun. "Your mother and I did fall in love when we were young, but didn't she marry someone else in the end? Find me before she died. I promised her to take care of you for the sake of our old relationship. I have taken enough care of you over the years. Otherwise, how could you, a little girl with average qualifications, become the master of the Shueiyue's secret realm? All these years of old love have been exhausted and there is not much left. I think I have a clear conscience towards your mother. Little friend Qin came to you to seek revenge. Isn't it your own fault? If you, Huiyan's secret realm, and Kunlun's secret realm hadn't coveted the adventures of others, how could you have reached this point?" After Hong Wanru heard what Qi Yun said, a trace of resentment flashed in her eyes, she lowered her head and stopped talking. Chapter 63. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qi Yun looked at the third thunder tribulation in the sky and thought to himself, could it be the third thunder tribulation? The third thunder calamity in the sky fell quickly, and its intensity reached the peak of the early stage of void refining. Qin Buyi held the killing blade in his hand and looked at the sky, shouting, "Well done." He exerted force under his feet and flew towards the third thunder calamity. Boom! The thunderstorm hit Qin Buyi firmly, the third thunderstorm dispersed, and Qin Buyi's clothes were completely destroyed and in tatters. The dark clouds in the sky did not disperse after the third thunderstorm, and continued to gather. Qi Yun's eyes shrank and he said in shock, could it be the Hengliu thunder tribulation, that when one breaks through from the fusion realm to the tribulation overcoming realm, the thunder tribulations he can overcome range from 1 to 9, through the thunder tribulation, one can see the background of the cultivator, and can also estimate the level of cultivation that the person who has overcome the tribulation can achieve in the future. A thunder tribulation basically has no potential. If you barely survive the thunder tribulation, you will be stuck in the realm of overcoming the tribulation and cannot survive in this life. The most common one is the three thunder tribulations, also known as odd three thunder tribulations. As the saying goes, the th avenue leaves a glimmer of hope. 49 is an odd number, and 3 is also an odd number, hence the name, Chisan thunder tribulation. This type of thunder catastrophe is the most common, and it is also the type of thunder catastrophe with the highest rate for practitioners to overcome it. The third level of the Chisan thunder tribulation is the Hengliu thunder tribulation, whose full name is 6 death tribulation thunders. Anyone who can cause the Hengliu thunder tribulation is one of 1,000 geniuses. It's a pity that the passing rate of this kind of thunder tribulation is very low. If 4 out of 10 people survive, it is considered good. A quarter of an hour later, the fourth thunder catastrophe was completed and struck towards Qin Buyi. The fourth thunder tribulation is obviously different from the first 3, which are all about the thickness of a bucket. The fourth path has shrunk many times, and is only as thick as a water snake. On the surface, it seems to have become smaller, but the actual power has suddenly increased, reaching the strength of the early stage of integration. The thunder calamity in the sky is getting closer and closer to Qin Buyi, and Qin Buyi plans to continue to resist the fourth thunder calamity with his body. At the same time, I also want to see how powerful my physical body is. Boom! The thunder calamity of the thickness of the water snake fell on Qin Buyi, but it did not disperse immediately like before. The power of thunder tribulation poured into Qin Buyi's body and flowed freely through the body. Electric arcs appeared on Qin Buyi's body, and his whole body fell into paralysis. After dozens of breaths, the arc dissipated, and Qin Buyi breathed a sigh of relief. The physical defense has reached the attack strength in the middle stage of fusion. Normally, you can't even think of breaking through my defense in the early stage of fusion. Thinking of Qi Yun's sword just now, Qin Buyi had to be careful even if he was physically strong. Shushan swordsmanship is well deserved. The strongest attack at the same level is not just a casual comment. Thunder tribulation is still in the process of being gestated. and the gestation time this time is longer than the previous 4. Half an hour later, it fell from the dark clouds. The fifth thunder calamity was still as thick as a water snake, but when it was about to fall on Qin Buyi, suddenly, the thunder calamity as thick as a water snake split into two and fell towards Qin Buyi. Qian exclaimed in the distance. It turned out to be twin thunder tribulations. Hong Wanru asked in confusion, what is twin thunder tribulations? Qian sighed, young Qin is indeed a genius, he actually caused such a thunder disaster. Then he explained patiently, some cultivators are too talented, which arouses jealousy and causes two thunder tribulations to fall at the same time, hence the name twin thunder tribulations. Two thunder tribulations falling at the same time is not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Many geniuses are just unprepared and are caught off guard and die under these twin thunder tribulations. Hong Wanru's eyes lit up when she heard how powerful the twin tribulation thunders were. She looked at Qin Buyi, hoping in her heart that Qin Buyi would die under the thunder tribulation. Qin Buyi trembled in his heart when he saw two thunder tribulations attacking him at the same time. Immediately he calmed down his mind. He was so restless during the tribulation that he really didn't know how to die. The fifth thunder tribulation and the sixth thunder tribulation are equally powerful, both at their peak strength in the middle stage of integration. Qin Buyi held his breath, grasped the killing blade tightly, and shouted, kill, slaughter. Wielding the killing blade that emitted cold light, he flew towards the thunder calamity that was getting closer and closer to him. The killing blade struck two thunder tribulations, and a small part of the thunder tribulation was split apart. What Qin Buyi didn't expect was that after being attacked, two thunder tribulations followed the killing blade and struck towards him. Boom! Boom! The thunder calamity struck Qin Buyi with two loud noises, and the thunder entered Qin Buyi's body and wreaked havoc. After hundreds of breaths, the thunder dissipated in Qin Buyi's body, and his internal organs were seriously injured. Cough! Qin Buyi spat out a mouthful of blood. After the six thunder tribulations, Qin Buyi's sense of locking did not dissipate. Qi Yunchang was about to congratulate Qin Buyi for surviving the thunder disaster, but found that the clouds in the sky had no intention of dispersing. An unbelievable thought came up in Qi Yun's heart. Could it be? Boom! 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 The sound of thunder in the robbery cloud was louder than before. Qi Yun finally made up his mind. It's really the legendary 9-meteor thunder tribulation. Qi Yun sent a message to Qin Buyi, little friend Qin, be careful, this is the 9-meteor thunder tribulation. Qin Buyi replied, old Qi, what is the 9-meteor thunder tribulation? Qi Yun said, 9 meteorite thunder tribulations are rarely survived. It can be said to be a life of 9 deaths, so it is called 9 meteorites. After Qin Buyi listened to Qi Yun's words, he looked at Jia Yun with all his attention. Seeing that the calamity cloud had not dissipated, Hong Wanru asked Qi Yun. Qi Yun said what he just said to Qin Buyi to Hong Wanru again. Hong Wanru was overjoyed. 9 meteor thunder tribulations, let's see how you survive. An hour passed, the 7th thunder tribulation finally fell. The form of thunder tribulation changed again. From the calamity cloud, a thunder sword composed of thunder struck down at Qin Buyi. Kill, annihilate. A full moon measuring tens of thousands of meters appeared out of thin air, shrouding the sword of thunder tribulation in the center of the full moon. The dense shadows of killing blades condensed within the full moon. Cut! As Qin Buyi shouted, dense shadows of killing blades slashed at the thunder tribulation sword. Chong! 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 The shadow of the killing blade struck the sword of thunder and calamity, making crisp sounds. The full moon dispersed, and the thunder tribulation sword, filled with the power of thunder, looked a little dim. Whoosh! The sword of thunder tribulation was no longer blocked and appeared in front of Qin Buyi the next second. Killing and slaughtering. The high-speed vibrating killing blade slashed at the thunder tribulation sword. Chong! The swords collided with each other, and there was a crisp sound. The thunder tribulation sword disintegrated into pure thunder power, passed through the killing blade, and fell on Qin Buyi. Boom! The power of thunder struck Qin Buyi. Huge force passed on Qin Buyi, who felt like he had been hit by a high-speed train. The figure hit the ground from the air at high speed. Boom! A huge crater with a diameter of several hundred meters long and a depth of several dozen meters was smashed into the ground. Dust was flying in the air. but there was no movement in the giant pit. Lon Linglong looked into the pit with concerned eyes. A few minutes passed, and the flying dust fell to the ground. In the huge pit on the ground, Qin Buyi lay at the bottom with his eyes closed. Chapter 64 Combination Under Thunder Tribulation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon seeing this, Lon Linglong fell from the sky and flew towards Qin Buyi. He was stopped by Hong Wanru in mid-air. Lon Linglong frowned and said, "What do you mean?" Hong Wanru snorted coldly, "If you take the next step, you will die." Lon Linglong's face was as frosty as she drew out her sword. Hong Wanru looked at Lon Linglong's movements and said with disdain in her eyes, "How dare you dare to provoke perfection of void refining even though you are in the realm of divine transformation? How brave! Secret technique of water and moon, mirror flower and water moon." Hong Wanru holds a round mirror, which shines on Lon Linglong. Suddenly Lon Linglong lost control of her whole body, and her figure slowly faded. The figure of Lon Linglong in the round mirror gradually solidified and became lifelike. Qiyun came to Hong Wanru, grabbed Hong Wanru's wrist, and said, "Wanru, stop." Hong Wanru took back the mirror with a look of reluctance, and Lon Linglong's faded figure solidified again. Yun looked at Qin Buyi, who was lifeless in the pit, and sighed, "It would be a pity to die under a thunderstorm." When Qiyun took Hong Wanru and was about to leave, Hong Wanru looked at Lon Linglong with a flash of killing intent in her eyes. Hong Wanru condensed the powerful spiritual power of Lianxu perfection in her right palm and patted Lon Linglong. The difference in cultivation was so huge that Lon Linglong had no time to react. "Things who don't know life or death actually want to take action against me," Hong Wanru said bitterly. Seeing this scene, Qiyun was extremely disappointed with Hong Wanru's behavior. Lon Linglong received this blow, her breath was unstable, and she spit out a large mouthful of blood. His face was like gold paper, and his figure fell towards the ground in a flash. At the heart of the chest, a palm print dented an inch is clearly visible. Roared at a loud dragon roar came, and Shao Qin caught the falling Lon Linglong. At this time, Lon Linglong lost consciousness, and her breath weakened rapidly, reaching the point where she could no longer breathe in. Shao Qin put Lon Linglong on his dragon's back. On the dragon's back, Lang Yi looked at Lon Linglong, whose breath was barely audible, and recalled the scene where Lon Linglong used her spiritual power to protect herself. His chest was suddenly filled with anger, and he looked at Hong Wanru angrily. Lang Yi took out a vermilion elixir from the space ring, sent it to Lon Linglong's mouth, and whispered, "This is what I brought from home specifically to save my life. Since you are kind to me, I gave it to you." The elixir melted in just a few seconds after entering Lon Linglong's mouth. Lon Linglong's breath slowly became smoother. A pill pulled Lon Linglong back from the brink of death. Seeing that Lon Linglong's breathing was smooth, Shao Qin felt relieved. If something happens to her, it's really hard to explain to the master." Shao Qin flew in front of Hong Wanru and Qiyun, her eyes filled with anger. Hong Wanru looked at Shao Qin without any intention of retreating, and at the same time said to Qiyun, "Uncle Qin Buyi is dead. How about returning his dragon to my Shueiyue secret realm?" Qiyun said nothing. Seeing that Qiyun was unmoved, Hong Wanru added fire. "Uncle Qi, as long as you help me capture this dragon, I will never bother you again in the future." Qiyun sighed, "That's all. After this, the relationship between you and me is gone." He held the Tai sword and pointed it at Xiaoqing's dragon head. The atmosphere was tense for a while, and the war was about to break out. Just when the two sides were about to start fighting, a slight cough came from the ground. "Cough." Qin Buyi opened his eyes, leaned on the killing blade from the pit, and stood up unsteadily. Hong Wanru looked down and exclaimed, You are not dead." Qiyun also looked confused. In his mind, Qin Buyi had no breath at all. The power of thunder just entered Qin Buyi's body, and Qin Buyi mobilized his spiritual thoughts to fight against the power of thunder. The thunder covered Qin Buyi's aura, so of course Qiyun couldn't feel it. The spiritual thoughts fought hard in the body, and the power of thunder finally dissipated. Qin Buyi looked at Hong Wanru with murderous intent in his eyes, and said with a cold face, "You deserve to die." Although Qin Buyi just used his spiritual thoughts to fight against the power of thunder in his body, he was also aware of what was happening in the outside world. When Hong Wanru took action, she was watched by Qin Buyi's mind the whole time. Qin Buyi said to Xiaoqing, "Xiaoqing, please step back." Xiaoqing's answer was very straightforward, "Okay, sir." Xiaoqing retreated to a position where he could enter the battle at any time, and Longmu looked towards the field. Qin Buyi flew up from the ground, the tip of his killing blade pointed at Qi Yun and Hong Wanru. Kill, annihilate. The full moon enveloped Qi Yun and Hong Wanru. Densely packed shadows of killing blades emerged within the full moon, killing Qi Yun and Hong Wanru. After using the Ju sword technique, Qin Buyi did not pause at all, and rushed into the full moon with the killing blade in hand. Killing and slaughtering. Qin Buyi's figure was mixed in the dense shadows of the killing blade, and he wielded the killing blade to strike at the two of them. Qin protected Hong Wanru behind him and said to Qin Buyi, "Little friend Qin, as long as I am here, you cannot kill Hong Wanru today." Shushan sword Ju, 10,000 sword Ju. The Tai's sword transformed into countless sword lights, and the sword lights were like tens of thousands of swords, attacking towards the phantom of the killing blade. Qin Buyi said to Qi Yun with a cold expression, "Then I'll kill you too." Qin Buyi was completely angry. Qi Yun had not wanted to show off his face before, but always kept a bottom line, but the other party allowed Hong Wanru to attack Lan Linglong, and later, under the instigation of Hong Wanru, she even wanted to attack Xiaoqing. If Lan Linglong's injury made Qin Buyi have murderous intention, then attacking Xiaoqing was the most critical fire to ignite the murderous intention in Qin Buyi's heart. Chong! 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 The sword light and the phantom of the killing blade collided and cancelled each other out. The full moon dissipated, and both sides were evenly matched, neither gaining any advantage. Hong Wanru looked behind Qi Yun at Qin Buyi, who was filled with crazy murderous intent, and her heart was full of fear, her delicate body was trembling in fear. Boom! Just when Qin Buyi was about to continue his attack, a thunderbolt fell from the calamity cloud and struck Qin Buyi quickly. Shushan sword technique, sword chi slash. An extremely powerful sword energy condensed on the Tai's sword and slashed towards Qin Buyi. Qi Yun said at the same time, "Little friend Qin, as long as you promise me to let Hong Wanru go, I will retreat immediately." Qin Buyi said categorically, "Impossible." Qi Yun, "Little friend Qin, I'm sorry." Hong Wanru thought viciously in her heart, "Qin Buyi, you are dead today. After you die, that little bitch and your dragon will be mine." There is a thunder disaster that is already close at hand, and there is Qi Yun's powerful attack in front. Qin Buyi was in a very dangerous situation and could be said to be in a desperate situation. Killing and slaughtering. Kill, annihilate. Killing life and death realm. Killing creatures and scattering souls. Cut me. Qin Buyi roared angrily. At this moment, Qin Buyi tried his best. The full moon that had reached 3 meters high appeared again, shrouding Lei Jie, Qi Yun, and Hong Wanru. Countless killing blade phantoms were divided into 3, killing Lei Jie, Qi Yun, and Hong Wanru respectively. Qin Buyi flew forward in the center of the full moon, and the killing blade collided with the Tai sword energy. Chapter 65 Combination Under Thunder Tribulation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chong! 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 In just a few seconds, Qin Buyi slashed hundreds of swords. Bang! The sword energy shattered, a dark beam of light appeared at the tip of the killing blade. After the dark light pillar appeared, it instantly expanded to tens of thousands of meters to form a dark field. The dark realm exudes a strong aura of death. In the dark realm, Qin Buyi's physical attributes were greatly improved. Qi Yun and Hong Wanru, who were also deep in the dark realm, felt extremely uncomfortable, and their combat effectiveness was greatly affected. What is this? Qi Yun asked in shock. Qin Buyi had just reached his spiritual blessing and understood the true function of the third form of the killing sword technique, Death Zone. When Qin Buyi's cultivation was not enough, he kept condensing the dead area to a minimum and used it to attack the enemy. As everyone knows, although this method can strengthen the attack in the early stage, it runs counter to the true meaning of the dead zone. Only after Qin Buyi's cultivation level breaks through can the role of the death zone be truly brought into play. As the name suggests, the death domain greatly increases Qin Buyi's combat power within the scope of the domain and suppresses the enemy's combat power. The full moon turned into a blood moon in the dark realm. the shadow of the killing blade also turned into blood, with some signs of solidification, and its power was greatly increased. The killing blade in Qin Buyi's hand disappeared instantly and came into the sea of consciousness, the divine thoughts in the sea of consciousness poured into the killing blade crazily, and the killing blade turned golden. Whoosh! The killing blade that left Qin Buyi's knowledge sea appeared in front of Qin Buyi's eyes, the death aura from the dark realm poured into the golden killing blade. Zheng! The killing blade screamed, the dark aura of death entered behind the killing blade, and it was clearly separated from the divine thoughts and did not invade each other. At this time, the killing blade was half golden and half dark. Zheng! The blade of the killing blade emits powerful killing intent, filled with killing. Whoosh! The powerful killing blade pierced Qi Yun's sea of consciousness before Qi Yun could react. The killing blade that entered Qi Yun's sea of consciousness released a breath of death to infect Qi Yun's spiritual thoughts, at the same time, keep slashing at the sea of cloud consciousness. Shushan sword technique, divine sword. Tai's sword disappeared in Qi Yun's hand and entered Qi Yun's sea of consciousness. Chong! The Seshablade's attack was blocked by the Tai's sword. When Qi Yun's thoughts in the sea of consciousness saw Tai's sword, they poured into Tai's sword like soldiers with a commander. Tai's sword emits bursts of golden light, and the golden light forms a thread and wraps around the killing blade. Zheng! The killing blade screamed, the blade vibrated, shattering the golden light, cut it down with the Tai's sword. Chong! The swords collided, and the aura of death continuously poured out from the killing blade and rushed into the Tai's sword. Zheng! The Tai's sword screamed sadly, and the golden light on the sword was mixed with a dark color. The dark aura also turned into threads and entangled Tai's sword. Tai Qian was entangled and struggled continuously, but could not move at all. Chong! When Tai's sword was trapped, the killing blade was like an unreasonable and brutal butcher, slashing hard at Tai's sword. Crack! After the killing blade slashed, a crack visible to the naked eye appeared on the sword of Tai's sword. Chong! 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 The Seshablade showed no mercy and launched a frantic attack on the Tai's sword. Crack! Crack! The sound of cracks kept coming from Tai Jianjian's body. Qi Yun was heartbroken when he saw the cracks on the Tai's sword, but he did not dare and could not take back the Tai's sword. Looking at Qin Buyi who was exuding murderous intent, Qi Yun had no doubt that if he took back the Tai's sword at this time, Qin Buyi will definitely defeat his sea of consciousness and kill himself without hesitation. Under the continuous attack of the killing blade, the Tai's sword was finally overwhelmed and made a harsh sound the next second. Crack! The Tai's sword's blade was broken into two pieces from the center. Zheng! The Tai's sword let out its last mournful cry. The brilliance of the originally magical Tai's sword quickly faded away, just like ordinary iron. As the Tai's sword broke, the divine thoughts in the Tai's sword surged out again. The killing blade slashed at these divine thoughts. Boom! With one blow from the killing blade, a small part of his spiritual thoughts disappeared. Bang! Bang! Boom! With a few cuts, Qi Yun's consciousness in the sea of consciousness was instantly wiped out by all the killing blades. Outside, Qi Yun's face was pale, and the relationship between his spiritual thoughts and the sea of consciousness was like a spring eye and spring water. All the spiritual thoughts were cut off, and it hurt like a knife cutting flesh. This is no longer as simple as an injury to the mind. Although the injury to the mind affects combat effectiveness, the impact is not significant. When the spiritual thoughts disappear, it is a good achievement to have only 5 combat powers left. Zheng! The killing blade in Qi Yun's sea of consciousness screamed again. Aim at Qi Yun's sea of consciousness and strike hard. Boom! There was a loud sound in Qi Yun's ears, and the pain in the sea of consciousness suddenly reached its peak. Hiss! Qi Yun gasped in pain. Without daring to hesitate, Qi Yun took out a pill from the space ring and drank it. After taking it, Qi Yun's pale face quickly turned rosy. The spiritual thoughts that disappeared in the sea of consciousness began to appear again. The new spiritual thoughts poured into the Tai's sword that was broken into 2 pieces, forcibly glue the Tai's sword back together. Shushan Sword Art, Sword Festival. Zheng! The Tai's sword, which was bonded together again, let out bursts of mournful screams. Carrying a strong momentum, he slashed at the killing blade, and for a while he fought vigorously with the killing blade. Qi Yun was not happy at all, as he had paid too high a price for this battle. What he just took was a pill that stimulated his potential in a short period of time, although it can instantly increase combat power. The side effects are so great that it takes decades of rest to fully alleviate it. The Taiye's sword that distressed him the most. Taiye's sword was cut in two and his vitality was severely damaged. He might be able to repair it by looking for materials, but after the sword ceremony, this sword was completely worn out. Even if materials were found in the future, the chance of repairing it was slim. What's more, even if the Taiye's sword is repaired with great pains, its value is basically gone. Swords have sword spirits, and the higher the level of the sword, the more so. A sword can only produce one sword spirit in its lifetime. Sword sacrifice is to sacrifice the sword spirit in the sword to increase the power of the sword. No one is willing to use this unacceptable price until the critical moment, let alone Qi Yun, who regards his sword as his life. But if you don't use the sword sacrifice, you can only watch the killing blade cut into the sea of consciousness. There is a difference between an injury to the sea of consciousness and spiritual thoughts. As long as the sea of consciousness is there, spiritual thoughts can always be recovered after a long period of gestation. And the sea of consciousness is about to be broken. Qi Yun will not be able to make any progress in his cultivation for the rest of his life, and will, fall down. Compared with sacrificing the sword spirit, this kind of thing is even more unacceptable to Qi Yun. He took out another pill from the space ring and took it. The elixir melted directly in Qi Yun's mouth, and the power of the medicine rushed to Qi Yun's brain sea of consciousness. It stopped at the place where the seaside blade had just caused the injury, and poured into the injured area. The dark aura of death lingered on the injured area of the sea of consciousness, and the influx of medicinal power had little effect. After consuming all the power of the medicine, the healed consciousness sea injury was like a drop in the bucket. Seeing the injured consciousness that was unable to recover at all, Qi Yun's heart trembled. Chapter 66 Combination Under Thunder Tribulation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Buyi from the outside stretched out his hand and shouted, "Here comes the sword." That the blood-red killing blade phantom separated into a small part again and condensed into a solid body in Qin Buyi's hands. Holding the blood-red killing blade that had solidified into reality, Qin Buyi attacked the thunder calamity in the sky. Killing and slaughtering. That the blood-colored killing blade that vibrated at high speed slashed towards the thunder tribulation, and the eighth thunder tribulation still looked like a thunder sword. Boom! That the blood-red killing blade was shattered by the thunder calamity as soon as it came into contact with it. The shadow of the killing blade in his hand was shattered. Qin Buyi shouted, "Come again." That the shadow of the killing blade in the blood moon instantly condensed again in Qin Buyi's hand. Killing and slaughtering. Holding the killing blade, the shadow struck at Lei Jia again. Boom! As expected, the phantom of the killing blade was shattered again. Qin Buyi's eyes narrowed and he roared, "Give it to me." That the shadows of the killing blades that were attacking Hong Wanru, Qi Yun and Lei Jia all poured into Qin Buyi's hands and turned into one. Hong Wanru breathed a sigh of relief when the phantom of the killing blade disappeared in front of her. There were already wounds on her body. If she was allowed to continue attacking with the seaside blade phantom, she would probably be seriously injured even if she didn't die. The phantoms of all the killing blades condensed into a killing blade that was as bright as blood, and the blade seemed to be dripping with blood at any time. "Break it for me." The blood-colored killing blade struck the thunder sword heavily. Chong! Surprisingly, the Seshablade's shadow did not break this time. The swords collided, and the sound of gold and iron was heard. Crack! Cracks appeared on the blood-red killing blade. The thunder sword attack slowed down. Qin Buyi took advantage of the situation and opened the distance, flying towards the entrance of Shueiyue's secret realm at full speed. Chong! The blood-red killing blade slashed open the entrance to Shueiyue's secret realm. Qin Buyi broke into Shueiyue's secret realm directly. After Qin Buyi entered the Water Moon's secret realm, the Dark Realm and Blood Moon in the outside world lost control and disappeared one after another. After Hong Wanru disappeared from the Dark Realm, she let out a long sigh. This uncomfortable breath of death has finally disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he saw Qin Buyi breaking into the Shueiyue's secret realm and asked in surprise, "What is he going to do?" Qi Yun did not speak. At this time, He was controlling the Tai sword in his mind to fight against the killing blade with all his strength, trying to drive the killing blade out of the sea of consciousness. Many female disciples in Shueiyue's secret realm were horrified when they saw Qin Buyi breaking in with murderous intent. Who is this person? Why did he come to my Shueiyue's secret realm? Hurry and invite Ancestor Wanru. Humph, you broke into my secret realm of Shueiyue. I really don't know how to write the word death. Don't panic, Ancestor Wanru is here to take action, so there is nothing to fear from this intruding thief. If they had known that Hong Wanru, whom they trusted in their hearts, had just been nearly killed by Qin Buyi, they probably wouldn't have said that. Qin Buyi looked down with cold eyes and shouted, "Scrape!" Powerful spiritual thoughts enveloped these female disciples, instantly stunning them. Qin Buyi flew towards the center of Shueiyue's secret realm at full speed. Secret technique of water and moon, mirror flower and water moon. A Shueiyu female disciple in the early stage of Su refining was not stunned and attacked Qin Buyi. Seeking death. Qin Buyi's eyes narrowed. Qin Buyi did not stop flying. At this time, every second was crucial to Qin Buyi. He turned the broken blood-red killing blade phantom in his hand and threw it at the female disciple who was in the early stages of refining the void. Whoosh! The phantom of the blood-red killing blade caused bursts of sonic booms in the air before the female disciple Shueiyue could react. The blade penetrated her heart. Boom! Instantly killed the early stage of void refining. The lifeless body of the Shueiyue female disciple opened her eyes wide with disbelief. She didn't understand why the other party was so powerful and could be instantly killed in one encounter. Qin Buyi came to the center of Shueiyue's secret realm and took out the core of the secret realm. The core of the secret realm is suspended in the air, emitting colorful lights. The spiritual energy in the water moon secret realm surges toward the core of the secret realm like a dragon sucking water. Most of the spiritual energy in the secret realm disappeared in just a few breaths. As the spiritual energy suddenly disappeared, the secret realm began to vibrate. The vibration frequency is becoming more and more obvious, and the intensity is also getting stronger. Qin Buyi looked at the thunder sword getting closer and closer to him. Leave the core of the secret realm where it is. Turn around and fly towards the outside of the secret realm. After a few breaths, Qin Buyi walked through the exit of Shueiyue's secret realm and returned to the outside world. As soon as he came to the outside world, Qin Buyi stretched out his hand towards the killing blade in Qiyun Sea of Consciousness. Take it. Whoosh! The killing blade that beat Tai's sword in Qiyun Sea of Consciousness instantly separated from Qiyun Sea of Consciousness, flying towards Qin Buyi at high speed. The palm-sized killing blade returned to its normal size during the flight. After the killing blade left the Sea of Consciousness, Qiyun wiped the dense beads of sweat on his forehead. Even if he sacrificed the Tai's sword spirit and took the elixir to stimulate his potential, he would still be at a disadvantage when facing the attack of the killing blade. They can only be beaten passively and rarely take the initiative to fight back. If the beating continues like this, the Tai sword that is forcibly bonded together will soon break again. At that time, Qiyun would have no way to deal with the attack from the killing blade. Now that the killing blade has left, avoiding the danger of the Sea of Consciousness being shattered, Qiyun warned himself in his heart, "Oh, I can't meddle in my own business next time." Meddling in one's own business also comes at a cost. If one is weak or misjudges the other party, one will pay a huge price. Qiyun now has both. He didn't expect Qin Buyi to be so strong after being forced into a hurry. I didn't expect that I didn't take any advantage in the opponent's hands. Except for a tie at the beginning, I fell into a disadvantage later on. As soon as the killing blade arrived in Qin Buyi's hands, the thunder sword arrived. Qin Buyi held the killing blade in his hand and turned around to slash at the thunder sword. Chong! Killing and slaughtering. Chong! Killing life and death realm. The dark realm appeared again, surrounding Lei Jie, Qiyun, and Hong Wanru again. Kill, annihilate. The bloody full moon rises. The phantom of the bloody killing blade condensed again. Attack towards Lei Jie. Killing and slaughtering. Qin Buyi used all his firepower under the increase of death domain, wield the killing blade and launch a fierce offensive against the thunder sword. Chong! 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 The intensive offensive hit the thunder sword, making a harsh sound. The blood moon dispersed, and Qin Buyi stood there gasping for air. The thunder sword had dissipated during Qin Buyi's crazy offensive. Qin Buyi controlled his breathing and looked at Qi Yun and Hong Wanru. Qi Yun couldn't help but feel his scalp numb when he saw the strong killing intent in Qin Buyi's eyes. He really didn't want to fight this monster Qin Buyi anymore. The opponent can always surprise him at critical moments, making it difficult to figure out where he is. Hong Wanru was even more so, trembling all over, fear filling her heart. Not good. Hong Wanru suddenly exclaimed. Qi Yun turned to look at her and asked, "What's wrong?" Hong Wanru, "Uncle Qi, my control over the Shueiyue secret realm is disappearing rapidly. I am afraid that if I take a few more breaths, I will completely lose control over the Shueiyue secret realm." Chapter 67. You are listening at Mtlnovel Audio. Hong Wanru looked at Qin Buyi as if she had seen a ghost and said, "What did you do when you entered the Shueiyue secret realm just now?" Qin Buyi ignored Hong Wanru's question. Neither Qi Yun nor Qin Buyi attacked each other again, and the two sides fell into a stalemate. After a few breaths, Qin Buyi finally heard the system prompt, "Ding, whether the host integrates the Shueiyue secret realm into the small thousand world." Fusion. Ding, integrating. Ding, the fusion of Shaoqian world has been completed. In view of the host's several choices, should the fusion secret realm be set as the default state? Warm reminder, after setting it to the default state, the system will automatically integrate every secret realm obtained by the host in the future and will no longer actively ask. Set as default. Qin Buyi's spiritual thoughts penetrated into the small thousand world, and the area of the small thousand world expanded again. After absorbing the Shueiyue secret realm, Shaoqian world finally saw some obvious changes. In the past, the river water sources in Shaoqian world were stagnant water, but under human control, they became like living water. Now the river water in Shaoqian world no longer needs human control and forms a cycle of its own. A burst of vitality emerged from the river. And many of the fish and shrimps that felt it most directly grew several times in size within a few breaths. Ding, Shaoqian world mission, absorbed 2 secret realms within 3 days. Completed. The mission reward, one of the 89 mysterious powers, the heavenly elephant earth, has been distributed. After completing the mission of Shaoqian world and obtaining the law of heaven and earth, Qin Buyi had been in a tense state and relaxed a little. Divine thoughts shrouded many female disciples in Shueiyue secret realm in Shaoqian world. The next moment, many unconscious female disciples in the Shueiyue secret realm were moved out of the little thousand world by Qin Buyi. Looking at the dense crowd of female disciples on the ground, Hong Wanru said in disbelief, "Impossible. It took me decades to become the master of the Shueiyue secret realm. How could he take away my secret realm in such a short period of time? That is my secret realm. I, the master of the secret realm, am still alive and cannot be taken away." Qin Buyi looked pitiful and said to Hong Wanru, "Nothing is impossible. If you think it is impossible, it's just that you are not good enough. Go to hell and experience more of the impossible." In addition to the longer time it takes for the core of the secret realm to absorb the first secret realm, the time it takes to absorb the second secret realm is hundreds of times shorter. So far, the Water Moon secret realm has been obtained in a very short period of time. After Qin Buyi finished speaking, Qi Yun calmly protected Hong Wanru behind him. Seeing this, Qin Buyi said jokingly, "Old Qi, the sea of consciousness has been injured, and the Tai sword has been broken. You are still so persistent. What are you trying to do with your life?" Qi Yun was told about the pain point by Qin Buyi, and a flash of pain flashed in his eyes. "Little friend Qin, my skills are not as good as others, and even the weapons are not as good as yours. I admit it. But, as a swordsman, I cannot break the promise I made in the past. In this battle, as long as I still have some strength to continue fighting, I will not let you kill Hong Wanru." Qin Buyi laughed and said, "If the sword is broken, can it still be called a swordsman? Mr. Qi, I don't understand something. Why didn't you continue attacking just now? I was waiting for a breakthrough in combat power. What are you waiting for? The 89 mysterious techniques, act on the heaven and the earth." Qin Buyi's body grew rapidly. 1 foot, 5 long, 10 feet, 20 feet, 50 feet, it reached a full length of 100 feet before stopping. Looking at Qin Buyi, who was like a giant in front of him, Qiyun was shocked again. Qiyun, it is said that, the legendary magical power can influence the sky and the earth. It is said that in ancient times, there were only a few powerful people who could use the laws of heaven and earth. I didn't expect that you would receive such an inheritance. It's really enviable. With the inheritance of Dharma, heaven, elephant and earth, it is no wonder that you are extraordinary and your cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds. Qin Buyi saw Qiyun's misunderstanding and did not explain anything. I didn't expect that Mr. Qi was so knowledgeable that he actually knew the laws of heaven and earth. Then he changed the topic and said sarcastically, "What were you waiting for just now? Could it be that the Guizhou donkey has run out of skills, that if Qiyun hadn't stopped him, he would have killed Hong Wanru a long time ago, and he wouldn't have been in danger and embarrassment under the thunder disaster?" Qiyun's good impression in Qin Buyi's heart was gone, so he started to sneer, "If the other party is still ignorant, Qin Buyi won't mind killing him as well." Qiyun heard the implication of Qin Buyi's words, and said bitterly, "I'm waiting too, but now it seems that compared with Qin Xiaoyu, I feel a little dwarfed by the big one." Qiyun took out a palm-sized sword box from his arms and tore off the seal on the sword box. The unsealed sword box suddenly became 1 foot long and 1 foot wide in the blink of an eye. Qiyun opened the sword box. "This is the sword left by my predecessors in Shushan. It will take some time to remove the seal." Shushan sword technique 36 Tiangang sword formation, .36 swords of various kinds flew out of the sword box. "Little friend Qin, if I still can't defeat you after this blow, I will retreat from now on and will no longer interfere in this matter." .36 flying swords locked Qin Buyi according to the direction of Tiangang, and sent out sword energy to attack Qin Buyi. Crack! At the same time, the 9th thunder calamity fell from the dark clouds in the sky. Qin Buyi allowed the 36 Tiangang sword formation attacks to hit him. Chong! 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 The sword energy hitting Qin Buyi's body was unable to break through Qin Buyi's defense, leaving white spots behind. Qin Buyi flew upwards and faced the 9th thunderstorm attack. The 9th thunder tribulation was in the shape of a thunder dragon that was tens of feet tall. When Lei Long saw Qin Buyi coming, he opened his mouth and tried to bite Qin Buyi. Qin Buyi, who was hundreds of feet tall, grabbed the thunder dragon. The thunder dragon, which was dozens of feet in size, seemed a bit small in front of Qin Buyi, grabbed the head and tail of the brontosaurus with both hands and pulled outwards with force. With a crack sound, the thunder dragon's body was torn in half. Then he punched the brontosaurus in the head. Boom! After a loud noise, the brontosaurus was scattered. This also allowed Qin Buyi to see the power of Fa Tian Xiang Di. The thunder calamity that had made Qin Buyi so embarrassed just now was now defeated as easily as eating and drinking. Looking at the calamity cloud above his head, Qin Buyi had a bold idea in his mind. His figure rushed into the calamity cloud. After entering the calamity cloud, Qin Buyi began to attack crazily. Qiyun controlled the 36 Tiangang sword formation to wander outside the tribulation cloud. He did not dare to let the sword formation follow Qin Buyi into the tribulation cloud. The destruction of one Tai sword already made him very heartbroken. If he had to destroy 36 more swords of Shushan predecessors, he would really feel like crying without tears. Qiyun didn't know how many times he was shocked today. He stared blankly at Qin Buyi, who entered the robbery cloud. "This is the first time I've heard that breaking through the fusion realm requires overcoming a tribulation. It's also the first time I've seen someone rush into the tribulation cloud after overcoming the tribulation. It's unprecedented and simply shocking." Loud noises kept coming from the calamity cloud. Boom! 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 Chapter 68 Tear the Tribulation Cloud to Pieces. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Buyi's figure flashed in the calamity cloud, and his fist like a mountain struck on the calamity cloud. After a few breaths, most of the calamity clouds were dispersed. There was still a small part of the calamity cloud left, so Qin Buyi shouted, "Killing blade!" Zheng! The sound of the killing blade rang out and quickly became louder. Qin Buyi, who was hundreds of feet in size, held the enlarged killing blade and slashed at the remaining Jiayun. Killing and slaughtering. The killing blade, which was dozens of feet long, struck in the calamity cloud. Boom! Boom, that the robbery cloud was shattered by Qin Buyi's blow. Qin looked at this scene with his mouth wide open. After the robbery cloud shattered, Qin Buyi grabbed it with his big hand. The 36 swords that formed the 36 Tiangang sword formation were grasped by Qin Buyi. Powerful spiritual thoughts poured into these 36 swords, cutting off the connection between the swords and Qi Yun. Puff, that after being forcibly taken away 36 swords, Qi Yun turned pale and spit out a large mouthful of blood. The sword array was taken away, and Qi Yun's heart became gloomy. He wanted to open his mouth to ask Qin Buyi for it, but he swallowed it back. He made a sword salute to Qin Buyi and said, "Little friend Qin, I don't care about this matter. I'll take my leave now." Turning to Hom Wanru, she had a complex expression on her face, filled with memories and sadness. In the end, these distracting thoughts were cut off by Qi Yun, turned into a long sigh, and turned around to leave. After Qi Yun left, Hom Wanru was completely panicked. "Uncle Qi, you can't ignore me, you and my mother." When Qi Yun, who was flying away, heard this, his tone showed no emotion at all, and his voice sounded in Hom Wanru's ears. "The relationship between you and me is now severed. Your mother abandoned me and left in pursuit of glory and wealth. Not long after she married your father was killed by his enemies. He came to me holding the newborn you, and I." Speaking of this, Qi Yun laughed at himself. "I am just a nostalgic lover. I have gained nothing, but I have been struggling in an old relationship for so many years." The shackles in his heart were broken, and Qi Yun's aura suddenly improved, breaking through from the early stage of integration to the middle stage of integration. When Hom Wanru wanted to say something else, Qin Buyi's giant body stood behind her. "There is too much nonsense. If you have anything to say, go to hell and say it." Laugh, that the killing blade slashed at Hom Wanru. There was a huge difference in strength, and Hom Wanru had no time to react. Boom, that the killing blade dozens of feet long fell on Hom Wanru, and a cloud of blood mist spread in the air. Hom Wanru died. Qi Yun paused, then turned and flew forward without looking back. Shao Qing blocked his way to leave. Qi Yun said, "Qinglong, what do you mean?" Shao Qing, "Come when you want and leave when you want. You don't take my master seriously." Qi Yun, "The person your master wanted to kill has already been killed. Could it be that he doesn't even want to let me go?" Qi Yun's cultivation has improved, and he feels more confident. Shao Qing, "My husband is kind-hearted, but he has a principle, which is to value commitments. Didn't you just say that you wouldn't give up on this battle as long as you still have a little bit of strength? Now I'm letting you go with so much energy. Wouldn't this be a violation of the promise you just made?" Qi Yun looked at Qin Buyi in the distance and said, "Little friend Qin, what do you mean?" Qin Buyi had no intention of stopping Shao Qing. He was already very dissatisfied with the ignorant Qi Yun and said, "Shao Qing, like me, is a man of his word. You just said you would fight to the last bit of strength, and it is helping you fulfill your promise." Qi Yun said angrily, "You are simply bullying others too much." Shao Qing, "When you stopped my master, why didn't you think of going too far? When my master was threatened by you during the thunderstorm, what were you thinking?" Qi Yun, "I have broken through to the middle stage of integration, and you are no match for me." Shao Qinglong looked at Qi Yun and said sarcastically, "My Qinglong clan is the best at fighting. You can't guess." Sun Long's battle technique, swallowing the sky. Shao Qing opened the dragon's mouth and bit Qi Yun Shu. When the dragon's mouth closed, Qi Yun's figure disappeared. Qi Yun looked at the dark space around him and opened the sword box. 36 long swords emerged from the sword box again. Shushan sword technique, 36 Tiangang sword formation. 36 long swords guard Qi Yun in the center according to a certain position. At this time, the oppressive feeling of the dark space continued to spread to Qi Yun. The Tiangang sword formation did not play any defensive role. What kind of magical power is this? It doesn't even have any effect on the Tiangang sword formation. Qi Yun said in shock. Sanlong's secret technique, Netherworld, that the feeling of oppression instantly intensified hundreds of times. Qi Yun's face, which was already pale due to injury, turned rosy under the pressure. Sanlong's secret technique, peeling off, that just when Qi Yun was trying his best to resist this strong pressure, he suddenly found that his body was gradually numb and out of control. No matter what method he used, he couldn't regain control of his body. Qin was shocked. If he continued like this, he would completely lose control of his body within a few breaths. As a last resort, Qin pressed the tip of his tongue and shouted. Shushan sword technique, great sword controlling technique. He smashed the sword box next to him with one palm, and a long sword burst out from the sword box, flying around Qi. They all gathered at Qi feet and turned into a huge long sword. Disease. Qi stepped on the huge long sword, and under the control of his spiritual thoughts, the sword body burst out with sword lights. The sword light cut through the darkness, and the next moment, Qi appeared in the outside world again. Azure Dragon War Technique Dragon Breath. Qi, who had just appeared in the outside world, ran into the dragon breath in Shaoqing's mouth. In a hurry, Qi redecomposed the giant sword at his feet into long swords and protected them in front of his body. The dragon's breath was not wasted at all, and it was all sprayed on the long sword in front of Qi. When Qi tried his best to defend, the dragon's breath seeped into a long sword, erase all Qi spiritual thoughts in the long sword. A long sword lost the control of Qi spiritual mind and fell down involuntarily. The little green dragon waved its claws and grabbed all the long swords. Qi face turned pale and he spat out a large mouthful of blood again. This time, on the one hand, it was because his spiritual thoughts were wiped out and the internal injuries were aggravated. On the other hand, he was in a hurry, and it could be said that he had lost all his money on this trip. The Tai sword passed down from generation to generation and Shushan was damaged. Even the swords left by the predecessors of Shushan were all taken away. As a disciple of Shushan, he had no face to face the ancestors of Shushan. What's more, a swordsman, without the blessing of the sword, will lose most of his combat power in an instant. Shaoqing didn't care so much. In its heart, it was already a good thing that it didn't kill Qi. Boom! Turning the dragon's body around, the dragon's tail hit Qi, who was in a daze. Qi was sent flying hundreds of feet. Shaoqing said, I said I would let you live, so these swords will be your life money. At the same time, the master asked me to tell you something. If you don't have the strength, don't imitate others. Next time, don't meddle in other people's business. Qi face was bitter, and all the most important and valuable things on his body were taken away and destroyed. He was very grateful to Qin Buyi for sparing his life. At this time, he could not even defeat Qin Buyi's pet Qinlong, and it would not be easy for the other party to kill him. Qin said to Shaoqing, tell your master and me that this is my fault, Meng Lang. I will come to apologize another day. Chapter 69 The First Thunder Tribulation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qi figure quickly disappeared from the horizon, and Shaoqing flew to Qin Buyi and told Qi words truthfully. Qin Buyi, the apology is fake, but asking for these Shushan swords back is the real thing. Shaoqing opened his dragon claws and handed all the swords to Qin Buyi. Master, these things are not cheap. If you fail, you will have to give the old man a hard blow. Shaoqing's words were like those of a profiteer, making Qin Buyi laugh. Qin Buyi put all the swords into the system storage space. Boom! The calamity clouds in the sky that were scattered by Qin Buyi condensed again and locked onto Qin Buyi. What's going on? Qin Buyi was confused. Shaoqing looked at the calamity clouds gathering above her head again. Master, haven't you already successfully overcome the calamity? Why are you still there? Just when Qin Buyi was about to answer, a message came into Qin Buyi's heart. After reading this message, Qin Buyi smiled bitterly. It turns out that all this was done by himself. Originally, Jiayun was finished, but Qin Buyi had to rush into Jiayun and tear Jiayun into pieces simply and roughly. This will anger Dao Mingjong. Dao had never seen such an arrogant cultivator before, so another thunder disaster struck him. This thunder catastrophe is called 10 meteors. As the name of the 10-meteor thunder tribulation implies, it means 10 deaths and no life. After briefly explaining the situation to Shaoqing, Qin Buyi said, Shaoqing, you go and wait in the distance first, waiting for me to survive this thunder disaster. When Shaoqing flew far away, Qin Buyi adjusted his breath, holding the killing blade and waiting for the thunder disaster to come. This thunderstorm took an unusually long time to gestate. 3 days later, Lan Linglong looked nervously at Xiao Qin's back as Jia Yun became more and more powerful. Ever since Lan Linglong took the elixir given by Long Yi, her injuries have almost fully recovered in the past 3 days, even the dented palm prints on his chest have disappeared. Xiao Qin, the power of this lightning disaster is getting stronger and stronger. Can Brother Qin survive it? Lan Linglong asked with a slight frown. Xiao Qin replied simply, I know the master's strength, there must be no problem. Although he said this, Xiao Qin himself had no idea, even it felt very trembled by the aura revealed from time to time in the 3-day tribulation cloud. Lang Yi looked at the 100-foot-tall Qin Buyi in the sky with bright eyes, and thought to himself. Who is this person? Why can such a person be seen on such a low-level planet as Blue Star? With the great supernatural power of the heaven, earth, and heaven, he broke through to the fusion state. There is no record in the family classics that anyone survived the thunder tribulation after reaching the fusion state. Now we have passed through the 10th thunder tribulation. You must know that even the most qualified geniuses who have broken through to the realm of transcending the thunder tribulation are only 9 thunder tribulations. What kind of monster is this? Could it be that some saint's son came here to practice, that the thunder calamity in the calamity cloud is still increasing, from the beginning of the late stage of the fusion realm, all the way up to the perfect level of the fusion realm? If it continues to improve, it will reach the power of the tribulation realm. While everyone was waiting, the aura of thunder tribulation climbed upward again on the 7th day. Xiao Qin and others felt their hearts almost in their throats. Half a day later, the power of the thunder tribulation stabilized at half step over tribulation. Xiao Qin's beating heart became slightly more stable. It's okay, it's only halfway through the tribulation, and it hasn't reached the realm of tribulation yet. Lang Yi murmured, even if you haven't reached the realm of overcoming the tribulation, the power of half step through the tribulation is not something that can be withstood by the early stage of integration. In the distance, on the ground at the edge of the tribulation cloud, more than % of Blue Star's cultivators gathered. These practitioners all looked at the calamity clouds in the sky, their eyes filled with shock. Which senior is this trying to overcome the tribulation? When did such a powerful person appear in Blue Star? This is the first person to break through to the tribulation realm since Blue Star entered the era of spiritual energy exhaustion. Does anyone here know this senior? If I could become a disciple of this senior, I would wake up smiling from my dreams. Lan Wenhao and Lan Tianhe were in front of the crowd. Lan Tianhe said to Lan Wenhao, "Third brother, judging from the news from Linglong, this Qin Buyi is really terrifying." Lan Wenhao felt this deeply. The first time I met him, he was besieged by Wu Ho and Zhang Feng. It's only been a while now, and I've actually broken through to the fusion realm. With my current cultivation level, he can probably kill me in an instant. Lan Tianhe chuckled and said, "Third brother, don't be too discouraged." He pointed to the Blue Star cultivators gathered behind him and said, "Look at them, every one of them wants to have a relationship with Qin Buyi, but they have no way. Look at our Lan family. We are the first and only ones to help Qin Buyi. The stronger his cultivation is, the more obvious the benefits to our Lan family will be. It is better to add icing on the cake than to provide help in times of need. The rise of our Lan family is inevitable." Lan Tianhe said to Qi Yun, who was alone not far away, "Old Qi, what do you think?" Qi Yun had left before, but Qin Buyi's heavenly tribulation made too much noise, so he came back again. Qi Yun smiled bitterly and said, "Your Lan family made the right bet this time." Lan Tianhe smiled even more when he heard this. He knew everything about Qi Yun's encounter through Lan Linglong. He couldn't help but tease Qi Yun and said, "Mr. Qi, I heard from my Linglong girl that you are a disciple of Shushan. Can you borrow the Tai sword?" "Old 7, don't be rude." Lan Wenhao scolded. Although the Lan family and Qin Buyi are tied together, the other party is in the fusion state after all. If someone is unhappy, it is easy to destroy the Lan family. Qi Yun's face turned dark when Lan Tianhe mentioned the sore point, and he snorted coldly. "If my grandson Lan Yen hadn't died, there is a high probability that your Lan family would have besieged Qin Buyi together with the Fire Cloud secret realm. I can only say that my grandson died well and at the right time. After his death, the pressure on the Lan family increased sharply and they had no choice but to choose foreign aid. This gave the Lan family a future, ahaha. Lan Wenhao and Lan Tianhe didn't look very good, but they didn't dare to get angry. What Qi Yun said was a double entendre. He was a senior himself, so Lan Yan, the ancestor of the Lan family, really couldn't fault him for calling him grandpa. At the same time, if Lan Yan does not die, the Lan family will most likely follow the train to the Fire Cloud secret realm and head towards destruction. Just as everyone was talking about it, the tens of thousands of meters of calamity clouds in the sky suddenly shrank. Qin Buyi sat cross-legged in midair, with the killing blade on his knees, and suddenly opened his eyes. Here he comes, that the cultivator below held his breath and looked at the sky. The thunder calamity did not strike, but the calamity cloud continued to shrink, shrinking from tens of thousands of meters to tens of thousands of meters, several thousand meters, hundreds of meters. After shrinking to several hundred meters, the calamity clouds began to churn. Gradually it condensed into the shape of a long knife. The shape of the long knife is getting clearer and clearer. Qin Buyi looked at the long sword that Jia Yun had transformed into, and felt a sense of familiarity. After dozens of breaths, the long knife transformed by Jia Yun was completely clear. Qin Buyi looked at the hundreds of meters long sword in the sky and his eyes shrank. Death Blade, that the several hundred meter long sword transformed by Jia Yun was clearly the life-killing blade that Qin Buyi lived with day and night. Chapter 70 Thunder Tribulation Killing Blade. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's going on with the system? Qin Buyi asked. Host, your current permissions are too low to know. The system replied. I will pay for the questions raised this time, as many more points as you like. Qin Buyi said, it doesn't matter how much money you have to pay. You will know when you are strong enough. The system left such a sentence and fell silent. No matter how Qin Buyi called him, the system did not respond at all. The hundreds of meters long thunder tribulation killing blade did not attack Qin Buyi immediately. Instead, he kept repeating basic knife skills in place: split, chop, tease, stab, collapse. Qin Buyi looked at the thunder tribulation killing blade in confusion. Everyone watching below is puzzled. Lan Tianhe couldn't help but ask Qi Yun, Mr. Qi, you are well informed, what is going on? Qi Yun pointed his finger at the sky and shook his head. What do you mean by this? It's all so mysterious and foggy. Lan Tianhe asked confused. Qi Yun glanced at Lan Tianhe and said angrily, I don't know what's going on. I guess only God knows. Why don't you ask God? Lan Tianhe was blocked by Qi Yun and couldn't say a word. He hummed in place and stopped talking. Qin Buyi watched carefully as the thunder tribulation killing blade performed basic knife skills. He found that the basic sword skills used by Lei Jia were very different from those he used in normal battles. Comparing the two, the swordsmanship movements displayed by Lei Jia are more primitive, and there is a charm of returning to nature mixed with it. Qin Buyi's own sword movement seemed like a villager chopping firewood, without any sense of agility. Standing up, Qin Buyi held the killing blade and practiced these basic sword movements according to the frequency of thunder calamity: split, chop, tease, stab, collapse. Qin Buyi's basic sword skills steadily improved bit by bit, gradually adding a touch of aura to them. Just when Qin Buyi was practicing his sword skills with each move, surprised voices suddenly came from the crowd watching below. I've made a breakthrough. I've made a breakthrough. I have been stuck in the foundation building realm for 12 years. I didn't expect that I would break through by practicing swordsmanship with this senior who has transcended tribulations. When everyone heard this, they all found an open space and took out their weapons: knives, swords, guns, sticks. There are all kinds of weapons. Practice according to Qin Buyi's figure in the sky. Even Lan Wenhao, who was in the early stage of refining the void, took out his weapon and practiced according to Qin Buyi's figure. Qi Yun was the only one in the field. He avoided Qin Buyi's figure and stared directly at the long sword transformed by Lei Jia. All the swords on his body were lost. Qi Yun Song casually broke off a branch, held it in his hand and danced it like a sword. The day flew by. The thunder tribulation killing blade stopped its basic swordsmanship movements, and Qin Buyi also stopped. During this day, Qin Buyi gained a lot, and his level of swordsmanship improved significantly. Everyone below woke up from their intoxicated state. I broke through. I broke through to the nascent soul realm. I also broke through. Me too. After a day of practice, Lan Wenhao broke through to the middle stage of void refining, and couldn't help but put a smile on his face. Lan Tianhe's strength has also improved. Although Qi Yun stopped, his eyes were always fixed on the Thunder Tribulation killing blade. Buzz, the Thunder Tribulation killing blade suddenly vibrated, as if it was warming up before, and now the warm-up is over. The thunder was all over the blade, and it was difficult for Qin to kill him. Qin Buyi was extremely familiar with the sword technique used by the Thunder Tribulation killing blade. Qin Buyi was surprised and said, "Killing sword technique?" The Thunder Calamity blade vibrating at high speed was slashing towards Qin Buyi. "Killing and slaughtering," Qin Buyi shouted and attacked back with the same move. Chung, the two knives collided together, and Qin Buyi's body flew downwards at extremely high speed, as if he had been hit by a cannonball. Boom! Qin Buyi hit the ground. He quickly stood up and pushed hard on the ground, and a large pit appeared on the ground that was dozens of feet long and 10 feet deep. Qin Buyi rushed towards the Thunder Tribulation blade again with the killing blade in hand. Chung! The killing blade struck the Thunder Tribulation blade, and a harsh sound came out. Boom! As expected, Qin Buyi was struck to the ground by the Thunder Tribulation blade again. Get up from the ground and continue to attack the Thunder Tribulation blade. Clang! Bang! Clang! Bang! After repeating this for dozens of times, the Thunder Tribulation blade's offensive was exhausted and it became quiet again. Qin Buyi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. The power of overcoming the tribulation in half a step is really powerful. These dozens of counterattacks have brought considerable harm to Qin Buyi. Qi Yun below him swayed and fell to the ground. Lan Wenhao went over to help Qi Yun up. "Mr. Qi, are you okay?" Qi Yun shook his head to indicate that he was fine. Just now, he put himself in Qin Buyi's position and simulated the scene of overcoming the tribulation in his mind, but the final result made him feel a little sad. No matter what method he used, he would eventually die under the blade of Thunder Tribulation. Seeing Qin Buyi take the blow, Qi Yun had to admit the gap between the two. Didn't he successfully overcome the tribulation before? What happened after I left? How could he trigger a second Thunder Tribulation and still be so powerful? Qi Yun secretly thought that he was very puzzled by the powerful thunder disaster that appeared in the sky again. A quarter of an hour later, the Thunder Tribulation blade emitted streaks of thunder in the sky. Thunder spread across the entire sky, forming a thunder field, and Qin Buyi was suppressed in the thunder field. Killing life and death realm. Qin Buyi saw this and immediately used the same move. The dark realm and the thunder realm overlap each other, offsetting the suppression brought by the thunder realm. The Thunder Tribulation blade swung again. A thunder moon composed of thunder emerged, covering half of the sky. Qin Buyi swung the killing blade. A blood moon was gathering, covering the other half of the sky. Thunder appeared in the thunder moon. In the blood moon, dense shadows of killing blades condensed. Bang! Bang! Boom! Boom! The blood moon and the thunder moon collide. Thunder and killing blade phantom consume each other. Cut! Qin Buyi used all his strength, and the shadows of the killing blades kept appearing in the blood moon, attacked crazily towards Lei Yu. Boom! Boom! The powerful offensive from the sky spread to the bottom, causing the practitioners with low cultivation levels to tremble. Several killing blade shadows and thunder were squeezed out of the fighting range and attacked the crowd below. Qi Yun stood in front of everyone, temporarily borrowing the sword of the cultivator beside him. When the killing blade phantom and thunder got closer and closer, he flew upwards and tried to block them. Shushan sword technique, sword controlling technique. Boom! The two collided, and the sword in Qi Yun's hand shattered. The killing blade shadow and thunder were half wiped out and fell towards Qi Yun. Boom! Qi Yun was blown away and fell to the ground, his face like gold paper. The Taiye sword was damaged and the Shushan sword box was lost. I actually struggled to withstand the aftermath of the battle. Qi Yun said sadly.